Indian consumer landscape is a vibrant mix of tradition and modernity. How consumers have changed in the recent years.
The moment a family goes nuclear, they actually premiumize. It's better if aspiration and consumption grows for all. Sometimes behavior shapes attitude, sometimes attitudes shape behavior. Strong brands actually create financial value.
Access to credit is becoming more acceptable.
Yeah, it's democratized. 1 out of 4 rural Indians actually bought something on e-commerce. You want a sustained growth in investment. You don't want bubbles to be created.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Fireside chat by TVS Credit, a podcast where we spark engaging conversations about finances, technology and the world beyond. I am Archana, your host for the series, and today we are going to talk about an interesting topic, which is ever-changing landscape of consumers in India. Like how are we spending, how are we saving and embracing new trends. So we are going to uncover all of these things in today's episode. But before we get into the heart of the conversation, let me tell you some quick interesting facts. To just set the stage, did you know that Indian women own a staggering 11% of the world's gold, which is more than the gold reserves of the United States? Though 65% of India's population resides in rural areas, but still its urban consumption patterns, which are strongly influencing the rural spending habits. Debt is also on the rise. A lot of people are taking loans these days for their personal needs, for education loans, for consumer goods as well. Here is one more for vehicle enthusiasts. India is experiencing a boom in vehicle and two-wheeler ownership thanks to easier access to credit. So with this, let's welcome our esteemed guest, Mr. Deepender Rana, the CEO of Canter India. Hello Deepender, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
So Deepender, as we know that Indian consumer landscape is a vibrant mix of tradition and modernity,
Right.
and with so much happening around. So what is your opinion on how consumers have changed in the recent years and what is driving these changes?
So yeah, the change has indeed been fast, and it's getting accelerated all the time. I think COVID was a benchmark year as well. In fact, it led to an increase in digitization, the pace of digitization, and that further made a change. And then there are demographic trends happening all the time. So I'll give you an example. Nuclear families as a proportion have increased, right? Urbanization continues to increase. So what is happening is the moment a family, and our analysis suggests that the moment a family goes nuclear, they actually premiumize. Okay. They change their consumer behavior, right? Of course, it's a two-way process. The brands are facilitating some of these changes, and the consumers are pushing for change in something. Quick commerce is an example, right? So that need for quick gratification had always existed, and it just hadn't surfaced in a way. And the moment that was made available to consumers, they just kind of went crazy, and you see the growth of quick commerce. So everybody wants everything in 5 minutes. The other big trend I would say is what I would call K-shaped consumption. So there is a lot of aspiration, and I would say anywhere between 60 to 80 million Indians, they are moving up in terms of their consumption curve, going for premium categories. Which is, for example, you see the rise of SUVs, a symbol of status. But then you do see hundreds of millions of people who, I would say, are not progressing that fast. So that is a bit of a cause for concern, because it's better if aspiration and consumption grows for all.
Yeah, that's insightful actually. And you brought up this thing, premium and SUV thing, that status symbol basically.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of a friend. So who used to be like that, I just want budget phones and I don't want to spend on something which is like for utility purpose. But he has recently upgraded to flagship model, and he felt that it is matching with his professional image. So basically aspirations are really translating into real spending habits. So yeah, shift is happening. And to decode this shift, research plays a very crucial role. And Kantar, being known for its extensive research for consumer behavior and all the patterns. So what are the key studies and tracks that you conduct in India which help businesses understand this changing landscape?
We do two kinds of research. One is primarily in understanding behavior, which is our world panel. So about 100,000 households, we track their grocery purchases across, I think, about 30 categories. And then on the other hand, we track attitudes, and we try to marry the two, right? So sometimes behavior shapes attitude, sometimes attitudes shape behavior. So that's primarily what we do. But the end result is we give advice to clients on how to make their brand stronger, how to shape better communication, how to come up with new innovation, and also understand fundamental consumer trends, how to improve customer experience, right? So we do a lot of researches in all these areas. I think the most famous one I would like to call out is what we call Brand Z, right? Which actually gives a value to the top companies of India and across the world indeed. And through that, what we do is we say that strong brands actually create financial value.
Okay.
And we actually have proven that creating strong brand power leads to better share prices. And those brands actually outstrip average brands in terms of delivering shareholder value. So what we are always doing is we're trying to kind of say, okay, we understand consumers not just for the sake of doing it, but also to make our clients' brands stronger. I mean, that's fundamentally why we exist.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fascinating actually. I just can only imagine how invaluable these insights are for the brands. So Deepender, actually I was reading an article wherein it was mentioned that two-wheeler consumption and two-wheeler ownership is increasing, is booming in India. So what is your take on that? Like how consumer financial habits are changing?
Yeah, so within both two-wheelers and four-wheelers, again, we see a rise of the premium end, right? So if you look at 150cc plus, they are 24% of category sales this year. And again, in the last 10 odd years, you've seen the share of SUVs go from, I think, 35% to 65% of the sales. So naturally, I mean, as you go more premium and credit becomes more available, people are going in for more credit. And especially post-COVID, there's been a strong increase in interest for loans. So we saw about an 8% increase in automobile loans, especially in the top urban markets. And the other thing is ease of processing, faster digital processing of loans. So the convenience that is being offered to loan buyers is also increasing. And then I think increasingly how the banks and financial institutions and the dealerships, how they're working together to facilitate that at the point of sale as well. So consumer is loving this sort of choice that is available with ease, and hence you see loans going up.
Yeah, that's nice. So basically, access to credit is becoming more acceptable.
Yeah, it's democratized, you could say.
Moving on to my next question. You do a lot of research and study about the consumer behavior. What recent trend that you have seen which has surprised you the most, if you can share something?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a study we run which is called the Rural Barometer.
Okay.
So because, rural is a key source of consumption in India, and you typically see even for two-wheelers, as rural India comes back, that tends to drive the sales of two-wheelers a lot. So we saw the fast rise of social media and gaming in rural India. I mean, you normally wouldn't associate that. And the other thing was we saw in our recent rural barometer findings, 1 out of 4 rural Indians actually bought something on e-commerce last year, right? So normally you don't associate this. So again, the rise of digital payments, 40% of the rural people have made a digital payment. So I think it is surprising in terms of the pace, and it's a positive surprise.
So basically there's a shift in mindset as well.
Yeah.
Regarding credit basically. So I remember time when I was growing up in a family where credit was seen as a big financial distress. When my parents think about taking credit, they would discuss it for weeks, weighing every pro and con. And then they would have come to decision, okay, they want to take loan and basically it is for educational purpose or for home thing, big purchase decision. But right now it has become more acceptable. Like talking about myself, whenever I do online shopping, I just go for buy now, pay later thing. So I do not hesitate in that. So there is a shift in mindset. So what is your take on that?
Actually, in line with the bigger shift, which is about, I would say, just experiencing and enjoying life, and anything that facilitates that. So there's this whole concept of delayed gratification that used to exist in our parents' generation, right? And that is changing now. People want to live the good life today, and credit facilitates that, right? The other is, if you think about a lot of people growing up today, they haven't actually seen the economic hardship that the previous generation seen, so they kind of feel just more secure while creating leverage. And I would again put it in the wider context of even investment trends.
Yeah.
So you think about how digitization has, I think there were maybe, or demat accounts, they've taken, now the number of people trading in shares and mostly through their mobiles is about 150 million, right? So our entire mindset around how we save, what we save for or not, how we grow future wealth by investing in shares, all of that is changing. And I think the increase in credit is in that context.
Credit is not seen as a burden anymore. It's an enabler for better lifestyle.
Obviously the government is always worried that, especially the unsecured credit, it shouldn't go up. Or in the case of investments, too much of futures trading should not happen. So it always needs to be tempered with, some regulation. Regulation does play a role, I think, in that. Because what you want is, you want a sustained growth in credit. You want a sustained growth in investment. You don't want bubbles to be created, and you don't want a risk to the, in a way, the financial stability to be done. So I think this needs to be balanced, the growth in credit with the need to inform, right? That you're making informed choices, that is very critical. And I think brands and banks and financial regulators understand that.
So that's all for today, folks. Next episode, we'll talk more about the consumer financing habit and we'll dive deeper into greater details. So what kind of trends you are seeing in consumer spending and saving habits?
Right. I mean, earlier it used to be all about, roti, kapda and makan. So, but generally as you rise up, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
So what are the trends that you are seeing here in this qualitative research field? How is it evolving?
Yeah, so in the world of data, where everybody is drowning in data, sometimes you need to step out and see the inside.
So don't miss it and do follow us on social media. Until next time, this is Archana signing off from Fireside Chat by TVS Credit.